Alright, so it is August 3rd. It is Dyno Day. We are on our way over to Finish Line Performance, about 25 minutes away from my house. It's over in Plainfield, Illinois. So tons of guesses on the horsepower, which is super awesome. There's been a ton of engagement, a lot of conversation going on, a lot of chirping going on back and forth between folks, which is very cool. It's kind of what I wanted this competition to turn into. Is just kind of a friendly way to say, hey, what does a stock, well, catback and air intake on a stock truck actually do before you get crazy with tuning or what have you. And that's exactly what's happening. So a lot of people are making guesses. Certainly looks like some of you folks did do some homework, which is awesome. There are some things that I may run into with putting a stock truck with a stock tune on the dyno. We will see if that becomes an issue. But as far as my guess on what the horsepower, my guess as far as what this truck's going to put down as far as peak horsepower. So we're going to do 2 runs here. My guess is 305 horsepower is what this truck's going to put down with the Corsa catback and the Corsa air intake. And I'll explain why my guess is relatively low compared to what this truck is supposed to come with from the factory. But my guess is 305. We'll see where that lands. We are on the way. So next time we talk here, we will be hopefully strapped into the dyno and have everything situated here. My appointment's at 9. It's about 8:10 right now. So we got plenty of time. Not sure what all goes into as far as prep once you get there. Like I said, I've never dynoed a vehicle ever, so this is kind of a new experience for me altogether. But I'm super excited. I'm really excited to see this thing put some numbers down and at least give me a benchmark of where we're at today. And then who knows, maybe we start looking at tuners or something else post-warranty. But with that said, let's get this guy strapped in on the dyno. All right, before we get into the peak horsepower and who won the giveaway, I want to talk about two things that came up when we went to dyno this truck. So one thing to keep in mind, this truck is completely stock with the exception of the Corsa catback and the Corsa air intake. Tune-wise, we are completely bone stock. PCM is still locked, encrypted, what have you. But this truck is stock from that standpoint. And what was happening is two things. One, these trucks don't like to stay in gear. So what was happening is as we were starting to accelerate and try to get this truck into a gear where we were going to do the dyno pull at, the second we went to hit the gas, the truck itself downshifted and then would ride through that gear. Or the second the truck would get into a certain speed, it wanted downshift. So the transmission wasn't acting predictably. It was acting like a on-road, economy-driven transmission shift point truck would, but not conducive to trying to get something and get some respectable numbers on the dyno. And there is, on these trucks, there is no manual transmission mode where you can hit the plus and minus to manually shift the gears up. All you can do on these trucks is set the top gear, but how this truck decides where it wants to go in between the top gear and gear 1 is up to the TCM, so the transmission control module. So that presented some issues. Now the second thing that I think really skewed the numbers at the end of the day is the speed limiter. So these trucks, again, stock tune, have a speed limiter at 104 miles an hour, and that's the safety thing. I mean, obviously you don't want to go too fast in a truck. These trucks have so much room underneath the truck that the second you start getting up to really high speeds, they get really floaty and it's super dangerous. I get it, 100%. However, on a dyno, when you're strapped down, that becomes an issue because what was happening with this truck, and you saw it twice here, the truck would speed up, and the second the truck hit 104 miles an hour, everything would cut down because it hit its speed limiter and the truck would basically shut itself down, and then it would return back to idle and wouldn't let you go any faster than that. What that caused then is it basically throttled how much RPM we could get out of the truck in the gear that we were trying to dyno in, which ultimately resulted in relatively low horsepower numbers. And I honestly think the horsepower numbers that we ended up with are a little understated for what the truck is capable of putting down. So I think the truck can put down more than what the gauge and what the dyno jet and everything ultimately said it did. But let's talk about the peak horsepower. So the truck put down, during its second run, 304.8 horsepower. And it actually put down 313 foot-pounds of torque. So again, you can see kind of the goofy graph here. That's because the truck was downshifting, and then we had to ride through the curve. So a beautiful graph would be one gear, start to finish, but we have all this goofy crap in the beginning here because the truck downshifted. And then you'll see right here, once the wheels hit 104 miles an hour, the truck drops off. And our peak horsepower was made just before then, which is why I think we were a little throttled in terms of how much horsepower we were able to get out of the truck because of that 104 mile an hour speed limit. So 304.8 horsepower is the peak. Price is Right rules. So I have to give an honorable mention to Shifts and Grin. So that's the Instagram handle, Shifts and Grin Fabrication. He guessed 305 horsepower, and from a pure numbers perspective, he was dead on. So he's 0.2 horsepower away from guessing the accurate one, as was I in the beginning. But he guessed 305, and if I wasn't playing the Price is Right rules, by all means, he would have won the giveaway. Unfortunately, we are, so he went over, so he's disqualified. So I went through my Instagram post to figure out who ended up with the best guess closest to the 305, but also they had to follow the other two rules. So you had to follow accessory, and then you had to follow Lamin-X. And at the end of the day, a fella with the Instagram handle Reptar Ram, so he's actually got a beautiful Ram, he ended up winning the giveaway with 288 horsepower to the wheels, and he also follows accessory parts and Lamin-X. So he followed all three rules. He is the winner of the giveaway in this video. So he guessed the closest to the horsepower without going over, followed all the other rules. Everything's hunky-dory. So congratulations, Reptar Ram. I'm going to reach out to you on Instagram, get your information so we can get everything shipped out to you, and then I'll get your information over to Lamin-X so you can get your gift card set up with them. But thank you, everyone, especially accessory parts, Lamin-X, and Finish Line Performance, especially Finish Line Performance. They're super patient with trying to figure out how we get the best numbers out of this truck. We even tried hooking up HP Tuner computer to it to see if maybe we can unlock the PCM that way. Unfortunately, that wouldn't. We need to get the thing encrypted or decrypted. So as far as future, what's going to happen next with the Ram? So performance-wise, after being at that shop, hearing cammed cars, seeing the horsepower of the trucks put down and knowing what the truck is capable of, I for sure want to do a tune. That is a no-brainer at this point. Then second thing is I'm starting to get the itch for a new suspension update. So what I want to ultimately do is get that 1/2 inch back on the front suspension. So if you remember when I went to the Bilsteins, I lost some lift compared to the spacers I had before, and what that's causing my wheels to do now is rub on my mud flaps. So I want to swap those out and go a different direction, kind of maybe get some piggyback coilovers, and then do the same thing in the rear, get some new shocks in the rear to give the truck kind of better handling at the end of the day. Because right now I'm kind of running a mishmash, 5100s, 4600s. I want to get on the same page with the front and rear suspension. But at the end of the day, thank you again. This was an absolute blast. I want to do way more of these. I had so much fun doing this. This is a complete blast. I had a really cool experience at Finish Line. I hope to go back. I promised I might be back with the truck. With the tuner in hand, I think we can get this thing to put down some more respectable numbers. But with that said, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for playing. For those of you who guessed in the competition, for those who watched this video, awesome. Thank you very much. Definitely, please do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me get the motivation and the oomph I need to make the next videos. But by all means, comment below. Are you surprised by the horsepower numbers? Surprised by the torque numbers? Did you see this coming? Some of you guessed pretty low, and maybe you did your homework and saw a few videos out there of other trucks dynoed and running into the same issues. But what did you think? Do you think this was a common issue? I'm really curious if Challengers and Chargers would run into the same thing, or if it's just a Ram truck thing. But at the end of the day, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye.